Good morning. It is 5 o'clock, and today we're going to meet someone very special on a very special morning walk. So why don't you join me? Hello friends, this is Martha and welcome to my channel, Living La Vida Carni. I'm so glad that you could join us today. As you can see, we have a very special guest, Miss Susan Boykin. And she's our guest, but really we're her guests because we are at her house today, which is very special. Thank you so much for having us.
Oh, I'm so glad you're here.
This is so much fun. We got to witness a photo shoot for Women's World. And
yes,
that was really cool.
That's one word, yes.
It was out of your comfort zone, right?
So far out of my comfort zone.
But
yes.
It was great. I mean, after I started making you picture ribeyes, I think you started having a little more fun.
Well, after you started the modeling music, I mean, it did kind of turn into a little bit
I
of a circus,
I did put some modeling music. That was fun. I'm glad I could help.
You did.
That was a lot of fun. So this is very special because you don't do interviews very often. You've only done one and then Women's World magazine.
Right.
And so this is my first interview. So I'm like an interview virgin.
Oh my goodness.
This is cool. This is really cool thing.
Cool.
I love it. So you do your first interview with Kelly Hogan.
I did.
It goes viral.
Yes.
Overnight, you get 800 emails or more.
From as far away as India.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It was crazy.
And you do a photo shoot for a magazine. Mm-hmm. I think I can officially say that you are a superstar.
No. We're not going to say that.
I mean, you had your makeup done.
Yes.
You look amazing.
Yes,
and it's pretty cool because it's also your transformation from what the Carnivore Diet has done for you.
True.
Kind of wraps it up with a nice little bow.
Yes.
How do you feel with all this going on?
Awkward.
Yeah?
Uncomfortable. Yes. It's so out of my comfort zone because this is so 180 from who I am normally, who I've been. And I just am reminded everything in my life, for me to go from where I was in such grief, such depression, from wanting to die, everything was going to have to change. And I recently heard somebody say, you don't drown when you fall in the water. You drown when you don't get out. And I was drowning. and I did not want to get out. And God gave me an actual dream one night after my husband died, and it was him saying goodbye, and I actually saw an angel take him to heaven. And I
Oh,
saw an
that's so
angel. I saw an
beautiful.
angel stand before me, and I have told this story maybe once. I have not told it to a lot of people. And an angel stood before me, and I was just calling out for him, please don't take him, don't take him, don't. What do I do now? What do I do? And an angel stood beside me and grabbed me by the shoulders and turned me around. And before me was a big building, and the lettering on it said repair shop. And he
Oh,
said, this is
this
where
is so cool.
you're going to be in the repair shop for a while. For a while.
Wow.
And I didn't realize that. I didn't realize I was going to be completely made new. It would go on for 3 years, and I would be in that shop. And during that time, somebody led me to the verses in Jeremiah 18, how it's about the potter. It's not the traditional potter and the clay story that people preach on, but it's the verse about the vessel the potter had made was marred in the maker's hands. So you can be damaged, marred, go through things even while God is holding you. But the potter saw use to make a new vessel. And that's what the repair shop represented. I was becoming a new vessel, but I didn't get to put it all together until just recently.
Wow.
And so all of these things are so new because there's nothing except for my son that remains of my old life. And my old life was 40 years of living with my husband. And I've moved since then. There really is nothing that's remaining. And that repair shop stripped everything off of me. And I had to have a new life to go on because I was begging to die. And I wanted to. I didn't want to live. And so it's awkward because this is so new for me. And it's so far from what I've been. But I've also had to learn to incorporate my past life with my current life because I have to keep my memories alive, and I have to have honor and respect for what I've walked through and what I've been through, and I carry that as part of me, and I get strength from that as well, even as I go into a new thing. And I have to respect the work of the repair shop, and that the master just wanted a vessel, a new vessel fit for his use as he saw fit.
Wow.
And that's what's happened. I mean, that's kind of the summation of the transformation.
Amazing.
Besides all the mental and physical healings, just that alone of being made new. And so
I think the work that God has done in your life has been so transformative. I feel like what he's done on the inside is so much greater.
It is.
It's so much more dramatic than the dramatic weight loss that you've experienced.
Yes. And that's what I even told Kelly. I said, you see what's on the outside. I'm living what's on the inside. So for me, I'm waking up brand new every day. And I'm still trying to discover where do I fit in this new world that I'm now a part of. I knew how to exist and do day to day in the old world. But even my dreams had to die because they were attached to a spouse. They were attached to the love of my life. We had dreams together for retirement for the rest of our lives, for things we didn't, get the time to do. And so how do I have new dreams for me? And I was not in a place where I even wanted to embrace that thought. I'm like, I just want to be done. And so for God to even start giving me new dreams and put new desires in my heart has been transformative as well, because that's something just for me. It's something that I have a plan for that. And that's why I told Kelly that was the first words he spoke to me about when I went keto, when I cried out to die, and when I cried out to, if you're not going to take me, I don't want to live this way because I don't want my son burdened with my care. And he said, I have a plan for that. And the plan started when I thought back about it in the repair shop.
Wow.
But I didn't know when I had that dream, this was what it was pertaining to. So it's been, he had a plan all along.
He did.
All along. And I just wasn't, at that time, I was too broken to even hear it or accept it. I would have pushed it way away from me. at that time. But I was just broken enough that a little light got through that day, and I heard that, and I knew it. And I knew, okay, that's for me.
Sometimes all you need is one word from God.
At the right time, too.
Yeah.
The right time. And God was so, I will say this, a tender, gentle, loving Father. He did not push. He did not bully. He waited so patiently and so tenderly because my grief was overwhelming. It was just overwhelming. The way I watched my husband daily die was so hard. And the things we went through with him. And so it was just a time I could not even have accepted any change or even view life with any future. But God waited till I was ready. And actually God prepared my heart all along. I just didn't really realize it until I got further out of that situation and my fog could lift a little bit, because even going through the business of selling his estate was hard, and I had such emotional trauma from the way he died. I had such emotional trauma from that was brought on even by the doctor's care, because we really didn't get any. And all of it just came crashing down on me.
Wow.
So all at once. And so, but God knew that.
Yeah.
He knew that. And he had actually started preparing me the night I brought him home from the hospital. There's a verse in Psalms about he gives his people peace and he gives his people strength to endure.
Yes.
And I held on to that. I knew I would have peace and I knew I would have strength. And my husband died in April, but in January 1st, God told me, I'm going to take him home. I'm going to take him home, but I'm going to get you ready. And I knew it. I knew that was going to be true. And I knew I didn't have to worry. I just had to prepare myself as best as I could, and I did. But you're never really prepared for that. Not that way. But I knew He had me. So, because He did prepare me all along the way, in the ways that I could accept at the time. So.
Wow. That's so powerful. I love how Dr. Wiedemann, Lisa Wiedemann at Carnivore Doctor, she talks a lot about the why that makes you cry.
Yeah.
And I feel like I've tried keto before and stuff, but I don't feel that I really had a strong why until my brother died. And isn't that, I mean, just so important to have a reason to change everything.
It makes every difference.
It just, to make a drastic change, something you would never do in a million years. And I love how our stories are kind of similar in that our faith has played such a big role in making such a dramatic change. And I've started to notice that in a lot of people that are trying this way of eating.
Yeah.
The carnivore diet, because I am amazed. It's like, I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but I just feels like the people of God are starting to implement this in their lives, and their depression is going away. Their anxiety was going away, and you were dealing with some of that when your husband passed away. You had mentioned to me personally, and those are very difficult things. I remember when my sister. One of my sisters was diagnosed with cancer, and it's like the body doesn't know how to respond, because I thought that I was okay until I started driving through stop signs, one after another, and it took me a while to figure out that I am driving through stop signs, and I just could not think straight.
You're in crisis mode, and you don't really even understand that your body is reacting to trauma and to crisis, and you're not really even in control logically of what you're doing. Nothing is rational in that moment, and your body is just trying to survive. And so you make lots of decisions you're not even in charge of. And I made a lot of decisions I was not in charge of.
Right.
But my body was just reacting to the trauma, and I was in crisis mode, and I was in survival mode. And that's all I could do at the time. And for that particular time, that was everything I could do. That was the best that I could do. And God did take care of everything else.
Yes. That's amazing. That's amazing. I love this so much. speaking about faith and the important role that it's taken, I wasn't sure I was going to go this way, but I feel like it's naturally going this way. Tell me more about the role that God has taken in your life. I know you're a woman of prayer, and I'm a woman of prayer. That's another reason I really connected with you. Tell me about the role of God in your life.
The role of God in my life, I was saved as a teenager, probably about 12 years old. And I was brought up in a Christian home. There are pastors in my family. I had a great home growing up, great Christian parents that worked in the church, always been involved in ministry. I was a ladies ministry director for a while. And, but I had some teenage rebellion, quite a lot of teenage rebellion, which just oddly enough to say I really tested God's limits and really found out there is a Savior of unconditional love and forgiveness, because I tested those limits. And he never lost patience, never gave up on me. Talk about long suffering. And after I had my son, probably, and I had him at 19. So I married at 18. And so I knew I wanted to raise my son in a Christian home. And I'm like, oh my goodness, we've got to get our relationship with God right. And of course, he'd never left me. And so it was easy to step back into that. And we did. We gave that foundation to my son, and we got involved in church. But through the years, God has just become sweeter and sweeter to me.
Yes.
And really, ever since my husband died, I've just felt so alone. But yet I knew I was never alone. All my friends loved me. I was deserted by a lot of people I wish had stood by me. But I understand. I do understand that God promised to never leave me or forsake me, and he never did. And I always felt his presence with me. And in the toughest times of my life, I can look back and I realize he was there. He was there.
Yes.
And it's so interesting. People talk about how much I walk. And I realize I walk 3 times a day. And what I realized, there's a pattern, and I just realized this week. My morning walk is usually after prayer time, and my morning walk is usually just gratitude and thankfulness for what God's done, what he brought me through. It's like a memorial. Thank you for the people that have loved me. Thank you for the people I have loved. Thank you for the work that you've done. And so it's the past. It's the work that has been done in the past. And then I usually go out around lunchtime, after lunch, and that's usually, my prayers reflect what's going on now. It's the present. And I'm like, thank you for what you're doing in my life. Thank you for what you're bringing me through today and to today. And then in the evening, it is all about the future. Oh Lord, this is something presented for the future. What am I going to do? How am I going to handle that? What am I going to cope with? I mean, I had a lot of that this week.
Yeah.
And so it's actually addressing the future, which God is the same yesterday, today, and forever. And so what I didn't realize is during my walking time, I'm memorializing my past, my present, and my future, and God's plans in all of it. And he merges it in my walks. And I never realized that was the pattern I was taking just naturally.
Yeah.
And when I realized that, it was like, oh my goodness, that's amazing.
Yes.
And it just represented my past, my future, my present so well that even though I feel like he's created a new vessel in me, it merges all parts of me.
Yes.
Because he's the same.
Yes.
He doesn't change.
Right.
And so he's just there in all of it. And he is safely safeguarding my past, safely safeguarding my present, and safely safeguarding the future that I can't even imagine. I could not have imagined this or dreamed it or even have asked for it, the things that I haven't even thought to ask for. He is kept safely within his will for me. And so just seeing that.
And also it made me think of the Trinity.
Yes.
The Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost, and how it's just also divinely orchestrated, where God is telling you, I'm with you. I've always been with you.
Yes.
I've never left your side. I've always been with you and in you, and I've got this.
Yes.
That's so beautiful. I love What I love so much about your first interview is how much it resonated with so many people. Because people can watch a YouTube video, and a lot of people, but they won't write to the person. By the time
I
you
know.
write to
Yeah.
someone, that means that they've really connected with you, that they have to express. I don't know how many videos I've watched that I'm like, man, that would be nice. I would love for that person to know how much that blessed me, but I never write to them.
Yeah, I was so shocked. I was really shocked, and they came really quickly.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I started getting so many messages, and I didn't know Kelly had released the video yet. She had not had a chance to tell me. And I had all these messages. My Instagram blew up, and later, I think it was the next day, Kelly's like, I released a video. I'm like, yeah, I had a feeling. I just had a feeling.
Why do you think it resonated with so many people?
I think this. I heard a lot from people in their 70s who had lost their spouses. And being in that age group and going through a loss of your spouse,
Wow.
a lot of people, they needed to be given a voice. A lot of people won't sit with somebody in their pain, especially at that age. They feel like nobody will listen. They feel like nobody wants to listen.
Wow.
They feel like nobody cares. I gave them a place that somebody does care, because I do care, because that's why I'm doing this. That's why I did Kelly's interview. That's why I did the photo shoot, because those are not of me, but I knew God wanted me to say yes. And when I heard from people as far away from India, widows that had started ministries, and they were missionaries, started churches in India, lost her husband, and contacted me just to tell me her story.
Wow.
And trying to keep the ministry going in India without her spouse.
This is
And there
amazing.
it was story after story after story like that. And people just, they want a voice, and they want to know that they're being heard and they're being seen. And there's something about reaching a certain age. We're not really good, even in the church, we're not really good at seeing our elderly, and we're not really good at seeing their pain.
That's good.
And we need to be better about it. And the only way to get better is to bring it out.
Yes.
And say, here's a caring heart.
Right.
Tell me, I will always. I tried literally to write everyone back, and I think I did. If I didn't, it's just because I missed it. But it took me days to write everybody back, because a lot of them, they came through direct message. Some of them got my email. Some of them came through email.
They
Some of them
Googled you.
They found my Facebook. They found me. So I was trying, and even some of the YouTube, the YouTube comments. Oh my gosh, I had to quit reading them after a while. It was so. I mean, do you think those are her real teeth? Yes, they're my real teeth. Oh my gosh, they are my real teeth.
Oh my goodness.
So it's so funny, the messages I got, but yet that also shows that they felt comfortable to say it. They felt comfortable to say it, so that's good.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so let's dive a little bit into your health journey.
Okay.
Were you overweight when you were young, or was there something that triggered your weight gain, or how did that come about?
I have had a history of yo-yo dieting. I mean, I probably was a normal weight kid, but in 5th grade was the first bullying I got about my weight, because I can look back at pictures, and I was probably normal weight up till about 5th grade. And then I just started getting bullying, and I think over the summer of that summer, going into, in 6th grade here, you went into the junior high school, and I put on probably 30, 40 pounds in a summer, and that was the beginning of yo-yo dieting. 'Cause my mother took me to the doctor, what can we do? And he's like, well, we're going to make her diet. And that started the up and down, up and down, up and down, which is just went on. I have lost 150 pounds 5
Wow.
different times.
Wow.
5 different times, doing everything. I went through the drug route, the laxative route,
Wow.
the every route, the starvation route. I would literally starve for 30 and 40 days at a time, and then binge for a week, then go back to a 30-day starvation routine. I used to work out 8 hours a day. So I did everything. At the same time, I was taking drugs for it, weight loss drugs. And what's so funny, the last time I went to the doctor, because I gained 45 pounds in 5 days, I had jacked up my metabolism so bad. And of course, we know it's inflammation in water because, the carb molecules take to water molecules. You just swell. But the doctor looked at me and said, gave me a prescription for diet pills and told me to join Weight Watchers. That was his solution. And so I went home extremely depressed and couldn't even face it again. So, because I didn't want that to happen again. And I gave up. I gave up that last time. I just gave up and said, this is it. So I was just kind of made my peace with, I'm just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And actually, I had maintained somewhat of a weight loss. I think I was a size 10. But when my parents got sick, it started again. And I turned to food. Food was my comfort.
Sure.
And so I just cast off all restraints and
you
just
went for it.
I went for it, you know. I am an overachiever, no matter what I'm doing.
You tried all the diets,
That's
Mrs.
right. That's right. I tried them all.
There wasn't a diet you didn't do. That's awesome. Walk us through your keto carnivore journey.
Keto. Oh my goodness. Keto was definitely God's instruction in the very beginning.
When did you start that, and how did
I
that
started
start?
keto, I guess it was, September of 2021. And that started because of my sister also, but that was, I think 2 weeks prior to that is when I cried out to God, I want to go home. I'm done. I had moved. I wasn't any happier, changing geography, and that's when I had the vision of my son taking care of me the way we had to take care of his dad, which is so devastating. And I'm like, I don't want that.
You had your why that made you cry.
I had my why, and I said, I don't want that. I'll do anything to avoid that. What do I do? Because I had no idea what to do. I'd done it all before and ended up in the same condition, only worse.
And you didn't enjoy any of them, right?
No.
It was like torture.
It was.
Every single time.
Always such bondage.
Yeah.
You know, I thought I was freeing myself, but I just tangled myself up in more barbed wire torture, you know, with every attempt. So when God said, I have a plan for that, I'm like, okay. I had hit the bottom, and I just was done. And so to hear that, I grabbed onto it, and I'm like, well, if you have a plan, because I don't, I'm fresh out, which is what he was waiting to hear.
Exactly.
I give up. And it was probably a few days to a week later, my sister said, I'm going to go keto September 1st. And I just said, I'll do that with you. I just know it's hard to do things like that, to change your life. Do it with a friend. Do it with somebody who will actually make a commitment to do it with you. And I said, I'll do that. And then that week, she fell and broke 3 places in her back on our walk. At least I didn't do that to you.
I know. I'm so glad.
And so that would be
so glad you told me this after our
yes,
walk.
Yes. The last person I walked with fell and broke her back. But so she was in rehab and she was in the hospital, and so obviously couldn't do keto while she was on hospital food, rehab food, and just really couldn't even stand for a long time to prepare meals. So, but I kept going. I'm like, I'm going to keep going. And so I did. And then 5 months later, and I did, I probably lost 60 pounds on keto right away. I responded really fast to it. The problem was I had started on keto getting that same diet mentality because there's so many keto foods that mimic the standard American diet foods that were triggers for me. People making their cakes and their carnivore brownies.
I fell for that, Miss Susan, because I did keto the first time, and I also lost 60 pounds, but I still had so many cravings.
Yes, because there's all those keto, you can make keto brownies, you can make keto ice cream.
What was it? The keto peanut butter cookies?
Oh, no.
My sister would make.
Oh, no.
They were so good, but I could binge on those.
Yes. I could binge on keto foods. And so I will say I stayed clean keto. And I did not cheat on it. But that part drove me mentally over the edge.
Same.
Because
it's why I quit keto.
Yes. And I'm like, and I was sticking with it. But more and more I was moving toward protein, because on the keto plan I was on, it was 6 ounces of protein a day. Oh my gosh, that's not enough.
Wow.
That is not enough. And the rest was vegetables. Well, I had horrible IBS anyway and had from childhood. I didn't need to be eating 10 cups of vegetation. I am not a bunny. So, so, so I was gravitating toward more meat.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so I just started on my own, doubling my protein, tripling my protein. And then just slowly over time, I started hearing more and more about carnivore. And it was just becoming more and more. I heard Dr. Berry first, of course. I hear everybody. That's their
Yes.
first introduction
Mine
into
too.
carnivores.
But
Dr.
it
Berry.
was my sister's fault. She's
Oh.
the one that introduced me, and I thought he was crazy. When I saw his Facebook announcement that he was going carnivore,
Yeah.
I was like, okay,
Uh-huh.
he's lost it.
Yeah.
He was doing his challenge, and I was like, I cut out at that point.
Oh,
I
my.
was like, no.
Yeah.
But I come back, and he's looking good.
And I knew too when I heard that, and I heard God say that's next. That's the next
Wow.
thing. And I
should have listened to God.
That was fine.
I ignored him.
It
at
was.
that
I've ignored him a time or two. It's okay. He forgives that too.
Yeah.
He waits. He will wait.
Yeah.
Till he has your full attention. And so it was 5 months on keto, which is good because it was starting to really drive me crazy. But I had success in that time.
Yeah.
I could not complain.
And some people actually can continue
Yeah.
on keto and do well. So that's nice.
I think that who works best for keto are people that can moderate.
Yeah.
I can't.
I can't either.
I am an abstainer.
I tried.
Yes.
I
There's no
tried to
moderation.
I had to really confess to myself, okay.
I had to.
I'm a carb addict and I cannot moderate.
I
It's
must
just
say,
not me.
You know what I've learned? I've learned, God put me in a space and He set my boundaries. And I know that as long as I stay within those boundaries, I have complete freedom.
Yeah.
And I know that's the one thing people talk about carnivore. It's so restricted. They cannot do it. And I'm like, well, you know what? You may be limited in your food choices, but the limits come off your life. What would you rather have?
Right.
Limited items in your pantry or no limits on your life. Take the no limits on your life each and every time.
You talk about freedom, and yet when I finally realized and confessed to myself, when I really came to the realization that I could not moderate, and I admitted that, and I admitted that to the Lord, and I was like, what do I do? It was actually very freeing.
Yes, it is.
I was surprised at how freeing it was. And so when I started carnivore, people say that it's restrictive, but now that I felt so free, most of the time I was just eating beef, and I felt like, why would you want to eat anything?
It's free. It's freeing because you're leaving everything that kept you in bondage
Yes.
outside of those
It just
boundaries.
feels so good.
Yeah, you walk away from it. You walk away from that prison cell, and you leave that bondage behind.
Yeah.
That is freeing. And you
Yeah.
now know your parameters. You now know how to make good choices and make good selections for you. And I found that out.
Yeah.
What works for me, what works best for me. I know nobody can do carnivore my way. They do not. And I've been slammed for it, for how I do carnivore.
I'm inspired. Let me tell you, I am inspired by how you do carnivore.
I have been slammed.
Oh, I don't care because I think I think more people should try it.
Yeah.
Because I'm inspired by that, to have the freedom to not have to count the calories, to just eat till you're satiated or more if you want.
Yeah.
It's the cool thing about carnivore is that you can tweak it.
And especially if you're a person that can't moderate, to be told, eat till you're full, oh my gosh, thank you. That truly is manna from heaven, which I say all the time. Meat is my manna. Meat is modern day manna for the carnivore, for the Christian carnivore, completely. That's your modern day manna.
Do not judge on eat or drink. Okay? It's the word of the Lord. Okay, you do a lot of exercise. You walk every day.
I do now, but I did not in the beginning.
Okay, tell us about that. Because I hate exercising, and Kelly Hogan gets on to me about that in a very nice way. She sends me she talks about the meta-analysis of exercises, and I'm just like, I think the first time I heard her talk about that, I was like, I feel attacked by your meta-analysis. But it was just because I was feeling convicted.
I know.
You
I
know,
understand that too.
I know she's, because I believe she talks about how at first she didn't really exercise
Yeah.
much, and now she's starting to incorporate it a
Yeah.
lot more. And so, yeah, I want to know more about what role exercise has played, because I think a lot of people that do keto and carnivore kind of forego the exercise.
And I think
part of
that's
it.
okay, because you can have healing without the exercise.
That's true.
You really can. You can
That's
have
true.
massive healing.
I'm surprised at how good I feel.
Yeah.
I was surprised that I could feel this good, even though I'm only 117 days in. Like, I thought I would have to
Yeah.
lose a lot of weight in order to feel good, like my joints and the aches.
Well, when
and
my first 3
pain.
months on carnivore, I may have lost 2 to 3 pounds.
Wow.
First month, I don't think I lost any.
Okay.
And then the second month, I think was 2 pounds, and the next month, 3 pounds. It slowed way down, because I was losing 17 a month on keto.
Okay.
Carnivore was a big slowdown for me. But what it
Wow.
meant was I was healing. And I was healing deep down inside. And I knew if I just...
You really had to have a conviction
Yeah,
of that,
and I
because
did have
just
a conviction.
anybody would be like, I'm going to quit.
I had a deep conviction because I felt good.
You kept thinking about the repair shop.
I kept feeling good.
Yeah.
And I knew my brain was healing, because I knew my depression had lifted. I knew my PTSD wasn't as bad. My anxiety attacks, my panic attacks, I had severe panic attacks.
Wow.
So I knew mentally my brain was being healed. I was having stability in my emotions. And coming from grief, oh my God, that's a lifeline, because your emotions are so chaotic. They're all over the place. You can't trust what you feel at any given moment. And so just to have all that level out to stability was so important. And I knew that happened when I started eating beef, and that was all I was eating. And so
So tell me about that. I think that's interesting. When you switched over to carnivore, what do you feel was the major difference between going keto to carnivore for you?
The major difference for me was I still would struggle some emotionally on keto, because so many trigger foods were still affecting my brain and my emotions. Because even if I didn't have a physical craving, I was still tying the keto foods to like an old standard American diet memory.
Yeah.
And so it may not have been a physical trigger, but it was an emotional one. And carnivore just stripped all that away. It took it to, here are your foods.
Yeah.
And they weren't triggers. I mean, you're not going to, I didn't sit around and party with beef in the old days. I didn't sit around and drown my sorrows in bacon grease in the old days. I do now. But
Bacon fixes everything.
it does kind of fix everything, except in the beginning I couldn't eat bacon, because it was very inflammatory toward me. So I really had to stick with beef in the beginning. So I was strict keto when I did keto, and carnivore was kind of the same way. I was strict, but I started feeling really energetic. And that's when the walking took off, because I just had too much energy to sit.
That's where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
I'm on about day 119, I think. And so now I'm feeling better.
Yeah.
And now have more energy, and now I'm starting to feel like I want to walk, even though I don't like exercise. But you can't be Miss Susan's friend and not go out for a walk. It's just not possible.
You can.
I'm like, how are you not gonna go walk when Miss Susan is out there in the sun?
No, you met me at like 5 in the morning in the dark in a deserted park.
No,
that takes bravery.
No, it wasn't brave. It wasn't brave. It was just, no, what it was is that in that very first interview, the words that came out of my mouth when the interview was done was, I have to meet this woman. There was something about that interview. And I never felt that way about any interview and any carnivore or keto thing.
I simply say God's anointing's on that interview.
Yes.
In so many ways.
Yeah.
I mean, God persuaded me to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, first of all, you do not say no to Kelly Hogan when she asks you something. And she asks you to do something.
Yeah.
The automatic, it's like talking to the Lord. Yes. Yes. It's like, yes, Lord. Yes, Kelly. I'd be happy to do that. It was kind of the same thing. So, but his anointing was just on it. And I've had people write me and say the reason they've watched it 3, 4, 5 times.
I have too.
Oh my gosh!
I sent it to my sisters.
Oh And that's what they said. They shared it so many times, and I even asked the same question, why? And because why? And they say, I felt God in it. I felt God in it.
Yes.
And my son was here because I didn't own a computer then. I wasn't doing, I'm Amish in that. I don't have any of that. And so he brought his computer, he brought his microphone, and he set everything up, and he sat at the end of the table. And even he said, that just isn't you. And so people felt God in it. And so they could feel it even through the video.
And when I saw it, it was the first time I ever said, I have to meet this woman. And lo and behold, you live 15 minutes from my sister's house.
And that's crazy too.
I mean, come on.
A God thing. I love God things.
And then we're on this walk at the park at 5:30 in the morning, pitch black.
Pitch black it was.
Pitch black. And she's encouraging me to do this YouTube channel, which I would have never done. And I was kind of walking through my emotions about how I felt about it. And I was kind of wishy-washy. Should I do it? Should I not? I don't know. But I feel like God is leading me to it. And you were just kind of helping to calm my anxiety about being on camera.
And that really was not even an awkward first meeting. You know,
it was like we knew each other forever. Yeah, it was very natural. It was so cool.
And I feel the same way about that video that I feel about your channel. God's anointing's on it.
Praise God.
I just knew it.
That's so cool. Which is so cool because, you know, we grew up in ministry, and so we know a lot of pastors in my city. A lot of Hispanic pastors especially. My mom's a pastor, and she has a lot of friends in ministry, and she travels and she speaks to a lot of pastors groups and to leadership here and abroad sometimes. And so there's a lot of, you know, we know a lot of people in leadership and Christian leadership, and it's just being overweight is so prevalent even in the Christian community.
It is.
So prevalent. I just had, you don't know this, but I just had a cousin from my mom's side of the family who had a heart attack just a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, no.
Well, we went to the funeral service, to the viewing about a week or so ago. Had a chat with his kids. Young, he was 61, somewhere around there, about 61 years old. My dad having diabetes, my brother having diabetes. It's just so prevalent, even in the church. Why do you think in the church? Because you will find us, you know, it's Sunday church,
it's
and
the
then
potlucks.
It's the Christian buffet, it's the Chinese buffet, and it's the a Golden Corral.
Every church event I've ever been to has been built around food.
Yeah,
it has.
Yes,
you're not going to have a ladies' luncheon, a Bible study, a prayer meeting, a council meeting without a big spread.
That's right.
So
that's right.
A lot of it's the food.
Yeah. So why do you think even the church, when the Bible talks a lot about actually health,
it does.
I desire you to prosper in all things, right?
Even
spiritually,
as your soul prospers,
physically, in every area of your life. Why is it that we struggle so much even in the church with our health?
I think there's a disconnect. I think that's the last thing that people want to give God control over.
It's so true.
And I just think there's a disconnect. And it's easy to disconnect and be spiritual in other areas.
Yes.
You know, you can be spiritual over your tithe and your offering.
Yeah.
Just don't touch my food.
Right. Right.
You know, I'm tithing, Lord, but don't touch my fried chicken.
I'm going to heaven, so
yes.
I'm good.
Yes, and so there's that disconnect, and I know we all know the word gluttony is in the Bible, but it is not talked about nearly as much as some of the other sins.
We like to ignore that one.
We like to ignore that one.
I don't hear that one preached.
I know.
Ever.
I don't know that I have ever heard a sermon about it. Ever.
I don't think I have either.
Yeah, well, because if you looked at the congregation, there'd be some major people leaving. Yeah. So tithing would be down that week.
It's true. It's true. Oh, God.
But there's just that disconnect. And I really think people have fallen for the medical excuses of, as you get older, you do get sicker.
Yeah.
You need medication.
Right.
You get it's part of aging. Being a Christian, not a Christian, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yes, it does. I mean, God has a design for this body. We are uniquely designed for the food that we need. And if we fuel correctly if we eat correctly and we eat God's way, we are safeguarded from a lot of illnesses.
Yeah.
But there is a lot of thinking out there that that's just part of life, and there's really not something you can do. And even
Right.
if there were something you could do, is it really as simple as you eat meat and fat?
And I hear from people that are diagnosed with diabetes say something like, well, it's progressive. That's basically the end.
There's no fix for it.
There's no fix.
I'm gonna enjoy it.
I wish my brother would have known from the beginning this way of eating.
Yeah.
He found out about it a little too late.
You're right.
But, for all the Joeys, my brother's name was Joey, for all the Joeys out there, there's hope for you.
Yeah.
Type 2 diabetes is being reversed all
All
the
the
time on this way of eating. So there's hope out there for you. And
Yes.
that's a message that I'm going to share this on my social media, because especially for all the pastors out there, for all the people in the different churches, there is hope for all of that. And it's not starvation.
No.
It doesn't have to be torturous.
No.
Like all the diets we've all tried. We all tried the green juicing.
Oh, I
we
did
all
that.
saw the
I did all the
documentary.
juicing too.
We all saw the documentary Sick, Fat, and Nearly Dead. And we've tried it all. But there is a way to do it where you are eating 3,500 calories
Yes.
a day.
Pretty
Friends,
much.
she
Pretty much.
she looks good, right? She
Well,
looks
I'm well
good.
fed anyway. And I feel
Amazing.
good.
What was your highest weight?
315.
315. And you're not dead. After eating all this and changing your way of
I
eating
am
like
dead
this.
to sugar. I am dead to sugar.
How's your scurvy?
My scurvy is in remission. It's like I never had it. Total remission on the scurvy.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad. People are going to ask you.
I know.
Yes, but how is your cholesterol?
Oh.
There's going to be some YouTube commenters.
It's okay.
Right?
Are those your real teeth?
Yeah.
I mean, and the weird comment about constipation. Yeah. But also and then I get all the time, that's not credible.
Yeah.
Your story's not even believable.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm living it. It's a good
Yeah.
thing that I'm not taking your word for it,
Yeah.
and I'm living my truth because
Yeah.
I lived it. So I weigh 114 now
Amazing.
from 315. So, and even since the Kelly Hogan interview, I've lost more. So
Amazing.
right now, I'm kind of playing with things and tweaking because I'm trying to stop losing. So, because it will stop. It will stop. It has slowed way, way down. So, yeah, I need to make sure I wasn't puffy for the photo shoot.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, there is a huge plate of ribs in my refrigerator.
That's awesome.
yeah.
I love this way of eating.
I do too.
I really love this way of
It
eating.
is the most health I've ever had, the most mental clarity I've ever had, and the most food I've ever had.
Yeah.
And it's the most freedom I've ever had. And the funny thing is, it makes you so healthy in your brain, you can say no to those temptations. You can walk through a bakery. You can walk through a church potluck.
Yes.
And not even have, that's what's so crazy to me. Not one temptation. No one thought of that I want that. And since so many people have been writing me, they're like, you've got to tell me a strategy. I want a strategy.
Tell me
till I get where you are.
exactly how many ounces of meat you eat.
Oh my gosh, the formula, the. And so I have a friend, intentional carnivore, Sean White.
Yes.
If you don't follow him, you must.
You have to see his channel.
He's amazing.
Yes.
I think he lost 250 pounds in like 10 months. And I think he's still actually losing, but he's amazing.
Yeah.
And he ends he's such a positive, motivating speaker also. And he ends every post when he writes somebody, keep pushing forward, keep pushing forward.
Yes.
And somebody wrote me one day and I said, I'm just going to tell you what Sean White would tell you, keep pushing forward. Yeah. But it was a woman, an older woman. I'm like, you've had kids. You know what it is to push. When you're exhausted,
so good.
when you're in labor, and you're only thinking about what you're delivering,
Yeah.
you think about the end goal of your pushing, and
Yeah.
you push forward and you keep going. You don't stop in the middle of pushing. You push.
Yes.
You push until you get what you want, which
Come
is that
on.
baby. So I said, think of it that way.
Susan, you are a preacher.
You are in labor, honey, and
Oh,
you
my
pushed.
word.
You don't stop. You
Yes.
push. Let me tell you, during my actual son's delivery, oh, he's going to be so embarrassed, but he does know this.
Yeah.
I pushed so hard. The stirrup broke.
Wow.
I mean, the stirrup broke, and suddenly there was a nurse grabbing my leg and pulling it behind me.
Wow.
I'm like, oh my gosh, but this baby's coming out.
Yeah.
So I told him, you push forward, and you don't stop
So
until
good.
you get what you're believing for. And I had somebody else, and she was talking about being in the store, and just, she couldn't help. Putting things in her cart, just found their way into her cart that she knew she shouldn't have. And I said, well, are you a shoplifter? And she goes, no, I wouldn't shoplift. And I said, well, you're really shoplifting because those things don't belong to you anymore. You're taking things that don't belong to you and you're trying to appropriate them, and they're not for you. And you just walk right by them and say, those are not for me anymore.
Wow.
And you don't be a shoplifter. And so just giving up terms like that they can relate to. And I know every time she goes into the grocery store from now on, she goes, nope, I'm not a shoplifter. Nope, that doesn't belong to me. It doesn't belong to me. It doesn't belong to my new body.
Yeah.
It doesn't belong to my plan of health. So I'm not picking that up. So just little strategies that are so simple that trigger the help that you need in the moment. Because sometimes you just need to get through that moment.
Right.
You know, you may not need it in a month from now, but that moment of just desire for something that's comfortable or something you used to turn to, and you do need a new trigger to say, I'm not doing that, because you don't want that pleasure center of your brain to light up like it used to. You want to be able to have a good strong, nope, that's not for me, and you tell yourself why it's not for you, and you walk away. And so those are just two things that are easy to relate to and remember.
What do you do in social situations?
Oh my gosh. Well,
It's just a little piece of cake, Susan.
it is, and I've heard that too.
Yeah.
But my family knows what a little piece of cake does because I will have a 5-week spiral.
Yes.
It is never, let me just say, a little piece of cake is never just a little piece of cake.
Yeah.
Because my binges were epic.
Yes.
Epic binges. And so I host here my family. When my parents died, they died 9 days apart, so we lost them together. And me and my 2 siblings decided we would have a monthly sibling day. We call it sibling day, and we get together every single month on one
Nice.
day, and whoever wants to come, cousins, nieces, nephews. It's kind of grown. And I said, well, I will host, and I provide meat, and I provide like 3 different meats every time. If they want to bring vegetables, they do it. If they want to bring dessert, they do it. I don't provide that, and they know that. And we all respect one another's choices. My sister-in-law is now carnivore. She followed me into keto, and then when I went carnivore, she did too. So we're here with the big slab of meat, and so, and really, that's what everybody kind of is sought after. That's the first thing to kind of people pile on their plate, and there's I've noticed to be less and less vegetables eating, and I've noticed even the last couple of times, probably only a couple people grab dessert now.
Wow.
And we're sending people home with dessert because they're actually making better choices, whether they realize they are or not.
Yes.
And so it's mutual respect. I don't require my friends to walk 15 miles a day with me. I do not require you to eat a tomahawk steak every time you see me.
Yeah.
And so I figure if you're not eating meat, it's more for me. So that's okay. It's okay. And so social situations have not been that crazy. When I was drinking coffee, I could meet somebody for coffee. And now it's just I grab a sparkling water instead. I have made it not be a big deal. So I don't think it is a big deal for everybody else. In the beginning, it probably was because it was even a big deal for me.
Yeah.
But as I've relaxed into it and know this is the way it's going to be forever, and I do know that. I do know this is forever because I think it was this past February, so it's been months ago, I went keto. I went back to keto for 3 days. I thought I was going to die. It's such pain. Everything I had came back.
Wow.
Vertigo, migraines, IBS.
I think your body had been so detoxed
Yes, it
from
had been
everything
detoxed.
that it's like, what
It
are you
had been
doing to
detoxed.
me?
Yes, and that was the feeling. I'm like, oh, we're not doing this.
Yeah.
And so,
Not a fun experiment.
and it wasn't even a cheat with like cheesecake.
Right.
It was with salad. I cheated with salad.
You cheater.
I cheated with salad. Oh my God.
The meat is like,
It is so funny. It's so funny because I
I love it. This is so fun. Miss Susan, someone is out there and they have had it.
and they're gonna write me probably.
No, they have tried every diet just like you have.
Yes.
I mean, they've tried it. They've starved themselves. They've done the Weight Watchers. And I remember doing diets where, you know, the 3 meals and the 3 snacks. And I was hangry all of the time. Oh, I hated that so much.
And of course, now we know that puts your hormones in such a state of chaos.
Oh my goodness.
And your hormones rule you
They really
metabolically.
Do. They really
Metabolically, they are in charge.
Yes. So someone is out there and they're ready. They're ready to start something new. They're ready to try this out, and they might be a little pensive about it and they need to learn more about it. What would you tell them to do as their first steps, and how would you tell them to stay on that journey?
Well, to me, staying on the journey is the easy part because you feel so good. If you give it enough time to bring enough healing. In the beginning, getting fat adapted is hard. You will have some symptoms that are not pleasant. And we've all had to go through that adaptation process, get the toxins out of your body, get the oxalates from the vegetables out of your body, get all the harm out to put the good in and let healing take place. And that can take a while, depending on how far away you've gotten from good health. It can take quite a while, and it isn't pleasant. For me, it really was about 90 days. But I did, on about day 17, I started feeling different. I knew something was different. So for me, staying on it is the easy part. I don't ever want to depart from this, ever, because it's been so worth it. The rewards of feeling good, of wanting to move, of wanting to live life. I didn't want to live life anymore. Just wanting to get up every morning now when I didn't want to is reward enough for me. And it's positive feedback enough for me. Starting is you've done it every way there is. What you haven't done is something that will not just remake you on the outside, but remake you on the inside. Isn't that worth it?
Right.
To be remade on the inside, to where you feel good, to where you can function in your life, where you can live an abundant life, where you can have all the life God wants to give you, where you can experience new things with new passion, dream new dreams.
Right.
I mean, wouldn't we all want that? And have that powerful why of, if you stay on your continued course, you know where that's going to lead.
Yeah.
You already know. You're living it.
Right.
You're living that. It's not going to get better. It's
Right.
going to be more of the same. Do a complete 180. Do something different that brings healing, and it will. And give it time to work. And so just go for it. I mean, join people that are doing the same thing, that can be supportive. And because not everybody in your circle will. Because anytime we step out in any way to do something else, people challenge you, go, well, why? When your life pretty good? Why are you doing something so radical? Why are you doing something so different? And that's in anything. Somebody quits one job that they're well paid at to pursue a passion. They're like, how could you have left that job? Why did you do that? So you're always being challenged. You're always being judged. Do this for you because you want a different outcome. You want to turn your life around. And so that's a reason to change. And the reason to stay on it is because it works.
Right.
And you will see it works. And you will experience it.
Choose your hard.
Choose your hard.
Choose your hard.
Yeah.
I would rather do this than to have to deal with doctors. And I was diagnosed when I was young, when I was about 25. I was diagnosed with a rare blood disorder called antiphospholipid antibody syndrome. It's a mouthful.
Wow.
APS, but it's like the body attacks itself in regards to blood clots. And so I have to take warfarin in order to regulate that. And so I've had different things that have happened. I've had ulcers on my left leg and that wouldn't heal, and I would have to see doctors and hematologists and wound care doctors, and I didn't have diabetes. I had to have a vein ablation done, and it was this whole thing. I've spent a lot of money on doctor's bills. And choose your heart.
Yeah.
You know, you can either spend money on, ground beef and, a ribeye when they're on sale.
They're on sale all the time.
Yes,
Make friends with the meat manager, which is I've done
yes.
at every store I go to. They will tell you when the markdowns are happening.
Yes, yes.
So, yeah, it's like I said earlier, you don't drown by falling in the water. You drown by staying in the water and not getting out. Get out of the water.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you so much, Miss Susan.
You are very welcome.
This has been
Thank
so
you for
much
coming
fun.
to my living room.
Oh my goodness.
And drinking my coffee.
Yes.
Because I can't drink it.
She doesn't drink coffee.
I don't drink coffee.
I'm not at Miss Susan level. I don't know that I'll ever be at Miss Susan level.
Sure you will. Because you're going to feel better and better and better.
Yeah, well, we'll see. We're going to take baby steps, Miss Susan.
You will be walking 15 miles before you know it. It will register on your watch.
Listen, if I start walking 15 miles, there will be a special YouTube, and I'm going to do it with you. I mean, that's going to be like a celebration, a 2-part series. We're going to invite Kelly Hogan on this walk.
Walking with Jesus. Meditations of a carnivore.
Yes. I love it. I love that. Oh my goodness, that'll be so fun. That'll be so much fun. So I'll keep everybody up to date as far as to how I'm doing. But thank you so much, Miss Susan, for having us. This was amazing, for sharing your heart and being so transparent. I know it's out of your comfort zone, and this whole day has been out of your comfort zone. I'm so proud of you, and I'm so proud of us, because I'm doing something out of my comfort zone too. But this was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be.
Let's be uncomfortable together.
Yes, we're growing.
Yes, we are stretching.
Carnivores grow.
We are being stretched.
Yes. Thank you so much. I'm so glad you could join us, and we will see you next week.